water, groundwater, and so searching for oil, they found great reservoirs of what's called fossil water. So then we have the great man-made river project, although I think maybe Gaddafi pronounces it as the great man-made project. So it developed, started in 1984, water from these aquifers here, taking it to the coast, both for agriculture and for the cities. And of course, we put it also on some of their banknotes. And so here's the 20 dinar bill, 1999, and there's the project right there. And there's some of the pipes of the project, 4 meters wide. There's some of the agricultural project's interior. Some of this is from wells. I call that the horse. But you have all sorts of pivot agriculture in the interior. It's all from fossil water. No one knows how much fossil water there is. It could be gone in 10 years, 20 years. The whole big Great Bend River project is estimated to at least last for the pipes 50 years. And lastly, population. We have shown you population map density, and you see most of the population is on the coastal area. And we will stop there. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Bunner. Next will be, you all the applause, just for the end, sorry. So next will be Dr. Almadou, who will talk about Libyan politics between tribes and the stateless state.
Thank you for coming. I would like to talk here especially about one major point that has to do with the nature of the political authority in Libya from basically independence, especially the beginning of the monarchy, 1951, to now. And to the question that I would like to raise here is, are tribes the core element of Libyan politics? If you listen to Al Jazeera, you listen to Fox News, and everybody's talking about tribes and the relationship between tribe and the state. And the way I think we can answer this question is by looking at 2 periods. The first period is from 1951 to 1969, and the second period from 1969 to now. And if you look at the way the state has dealt with tribes in both periods, what we can notice is that there is 2 core differences. And the difference between the monarchy, what the monarchy tried to do is try to align itself with certain tribes, and that raised some concerns or some contention and contestation at the beginning. And that's the reason why Gaddafi and some of the commanders in the revolution, they tried to find or to interpret this revolution as a reaction to this politics of that connected the monarchy with certain tribes. And if you look at the tribes, basically, the tribes, you have 2 key, most of the tribes that are in Libya came from the Arabian Peninsula between 9th century and the 11th century. And you have the 2 tribes, the Banu Hilal and Banu Sulaym. Both of them settled in Tripolitania and Cyrenaica, but Banu Hilal and Banu Sulaym, they settled mainly in Tripolitania. That's where you see this diversity of tribal organizations in that region. But while in Cyrenaica you have mainly the Banu Sulaym faction. There are also Berber tribes, especially in the north and also in some parts of the south. And these tribes are they're different from the tribes you find in other parts of Morocco or Algeria or even certain parts of Tunisia. And these tribes are basically the 12. In 1952, the monarch banned all tribes. And that's where we start seeing the problem here. Unlike what you see in Morocco and unlike Algeria and Tunisia, there was a continuation of a particular political system in most of these countries. And this political system, which revolved around political ideological affiliation, maintained a certain diversity of political discourse within these countries. Unlike Libya, you don't see that at the beginning, although there were some elements of this early ideological debates within the country. By 1969, Gaddafi comes and then reinstitute a different type of political system, which he calls socialism, especially Arab socialism, influenced largely by his godfather, or his ideological godfather, if I may say so, Jamal Abdel Nasser. And even Jamal Abdel Nasser in 1969, he received Gaddafi, and he basically made the point that I'm confident in the future because the revolution is in the hands of people like Gaddafi when he gave a speech in Cairo. So this political authority that you start seeing by especially in 1977, would move the political authority, and it would maintain this political authority somehow connected to the tribes. How? By instituting what Gaddafi calls the people's committees. Basically, that in every area in Libya, you have political organizations which are very popular. So you're talking here not only about ideological political parties, but you're talking mainly about popular committees. And these popular committees would sit around and discuss their issues related to economics, politics, water issues, and so on and so forth. And once they meet, generally once a month, they don't legislate. And you have also another committee which is called Basic People's Congress. The Basic People Congress is at the level of municipalities. These are connected to the people's committees, and once they vote, or they have organization or members that are between 1 to 5 members, which they send each year between actually sometimes either in January or February to what they call the General People's Congress. And this is the political body that legislates in general. And this political body has what he calls secretariat. And between 1977 and 1979, Gaddafi held the post of the secretariat, and later on he would leave that post to become basically the leader of the revolution, become basically the ideologue of this revolution. So what you see here between these two periods is that you have always had a major lack of stable political institutions. The state is there, but unlike what you see, for instance, in other North African countries, you don't see the political institutions that are different ideologically speaking. And what you see basically is mainly a socialist ideology which revolves around these people's committees, which revolves around the political discourse of the General People's Congress. And in a sense, it abhors and it marginalizes any formal institutional interpretations. Remember, Gaddafi has always been against formal interpretations. He was against many Islamic schools. He's even against the interpretation of the Hadith. He doesn't like the political parties, and all of this is because he still remains faithful to the core idea. So people might think that he is crazy, but there is some logic in his craziness. And that has to do with basically that he is always for the popular discourse. So most of the political decisions have to take place at the level of what he calls the popular debate. And that popular debate is what led to the lack of institutions, and mainly state institutions, that have allowed this kind of disorder and chaos that you see today. That's why you don't see political leaders today, although there is a national congress now that's trying to replace this, but you don't see key figures, and that's because most of the discourse have around this popular imagination. Thank you.